Think about children of 10, 11, 12. These kids are battling with so many things. They can't talk to anybody. If they don't feel heard, imagine that. In all this time, if my parents were not aware, that is where you get to, where parents don't even know what their children are capable of.
They can swear my child is a virgin without knowing that she's in the business of selling her body. We're talking about addiction in secondary schools.
At that point, I had so many things coming through my mind to say, you're a girl, you have what it takes to, of course, an attractive girl, you have what it takes to make money. But my value system, I told myself that I'm not going to sell myself just because I needed to eat. Let me take you to your place. A guy, say, come, let me take you to your home. Picked me up, I got home, and he drove me to, and that was it. The next thing.
Today's episode of P&T Show is quite unconventional. You're going to smile, laugh, and shed some good tears. My guest is going to be sharing with you a real life experience that you as a teenager will be challenged by and hopefully pick one or two lessons from. And if you're a parent listening, you would learn one or two things that would help you in your parenting journey. I have with me the most delightable Coach Esther.
Nice
Good to have you in the studio finally.
Nice ratio. It's so exciting. Always talking, talking. Anything that has to do with teenager, it's so amazing to me. Anything teenager is I just love teenagers.
Yeah, you will understand better what she's saying if you look at her bio, because for the greater part of her life, she has worked with young people. So I'm going to start this way. What exactly inspired you to start working with teenagers? Let's go way back.
Okay, so for me, it's the fact that my father was not there, and it was just myself and my mother. And you know what that means for a mom who is struggling with so many children, and I happen to be the first. So
how many siblings do you
I
have?
have 7 siblings. With me, that's 8. So, struggling with that, it's so I saw my mom go through this thing, and for some other teenagers, they just feel okay with that. No school. I didn't go to school. I was home with my mom, and when she goes out, we're home, and you see others passing the streets, and you just look at the uniforms, and you're just there. And there's this particular song that plays in the afternoon that when it plays, it's nightmare for me. and you're there, you're watching others go to school. And at that point, I started teaching. People come back from school and I'm seated there, waiting for them to come, excited, get their papers, teach them.
Hold up. Don't be too fast. You were out of school. By the way, how old were you by now?
Oh, okay. Out of school, I was out of school when I was in grade 3. That was the last time I went to school. And this time we're talking about fast forwarded to, I was 11, to be precise, 12. Yes, 12.
So you were 12 years old, out of school, but here you are gathering others who goes to school.
Yes.
And then you are teaching them. Others who go to school, they come back and then you sit with them and you're teaching them.
Yes,
How did you come about that?
So I just felt that I just know that I'm supposed to be a teacher. Yes, so I gathered them up together and just teach. And of course, I still have children, teenagers who are in the secondary school. I still teach them. They go to their school and come back. Yes. And I'm teaching them, I'm marking results and saying you didn't do well and all that. I do it effortlessly. So for that period of time, I met a woman who said, why you're so good being a teacher. What school do you attend? And I said, I've not been to school I think I stopped school when I was in grade 3. That was when I stopped schooling. And she said, you're this intelligent. Okay, so you know what? I want to pick you up. And that was how she picked me up. Royal School in Delta State. That was how she picked me up and saw me through. And through that process, I took it very personally because that was what I have always wanted. It was a journey for me. And during that process, I got into College of Education where I studied English and Social Studies. And
she took you, hold on, you're jumping this gun. You have to go through the go-throughs in the stories, please. So when she took you, she registered you in a school.
No, she registered me in a school.
Oh, she had a school.
Yeah, she has a
So she's
school.
just simply brought into
Yeah,
her
so she's
school.
a proprietress. So we call them HM. HM. Back then we don't call them proprietress.
We've twist up the name
Yes, we call them HM. So she brought me in, registered me, and she watched me grow. She personally and holded me, if there's a word like that. Yes, she held me, and we were taking it step by step, and she watched me grow. So when I was done,
Did primary school there?
I did primary there, I did secondary there. I did primary. So SS1, she enrolled me immediately for WAEC, and that was it. Immediately I was done, I went to College of Education. My mother, who works in College of Education, so she enrolled me for college and said, "You are born a teacher." So I never wanted to be. At that point, I said, I want to be in the university and all that. Well, my mother was like, "You're born a teacher. Come, go to College of Education." And that was it. I went to College of Education, 3 years I was done. And I started my TP. That was it for me. That was how I started. Like as a small girl of 19 that I was at that point in time, I was
You were
already
19
19 now.
when you finished your
Yes.
TP.
Yes. No, when I was done with college of it, when you are through 1 year, 2 year, you have to go through teaching practice. And when I did my teaching practice, I went to a secondary school instead of going to a small tiny girl. You know what that means? Instead of going to a primary school, I have audacity. I went to a secondary school, and I started teaching SS1.
That's the height of it.
I started teaching SS1. I remember the first day I entered the class, and everybody was just looking at me like,
Why would they look at you? Is he a new student?
and as tiny as I was like, "Would you sit down? Would you behave? I'm here to teach you language arts, English language. So you would want to listen to me." And I noticed that was where it came out for me that they were so attracted to me, in as much I was small, and they would listen. There's this way they feel about me. And I started teaching secondary school, why classes, jam. If I just started preparing teenagers for that, for external exams. So that was how the love came in for me. And I noticed that they were so attached to me, and I was ready. I saw so many things they do which wasn't right. And for me, I wanted to come in to say, this is the way. Somebody else has shown me the way. And I'm saying, this is the part, this is the part. So that was how I came into coaching teens. Yeah.
Your journey is super inspiring, especially when you mentioned that you didn't go to school, but you had the thought to start teaching other fellow kids. I mean, who would believe that a tiny little 12-year-old is running a school?
School. And don't I have a school. I have an uncompleted building.
Oh, you actually have a physical location. So they don't come to your house.
I have an uncompleted building school. I have decks. I built a decks. So they sit in decks. I have report cards. That's what they call it then. I have report cards. I have Mac. So
So fast forward to now, Coach Esther has two schools running concurrently in Delta State, and she's consulting for secondary schools for educational institutions in Lagos and across. So fast that's fast forward, that's now, but you can trace it back to when she was 12 years, when she, instead of mourning the poverty that was keeping her back in the house, she stepped out. Yeah. So let's continue this story because it is super interesting. So when you now finished, when you were teaching the kids, preparing them for WAEC and all of that, what next? How did it transition from there?
okay, so that was how I started. So I basically want to train them. They're always around me, and I said I was going to have a teenage class. So I started with the teenage meetings, classes, all being every teenager being in one place, and just making them feel excited. I wanted to be their mother. I wanted to be their friend. I wanted to be that person they can always turn back and and talk to. They had sensitive issues that, of course, they couldn't talk to their parents at home. But when it's me, it becomes naked. It's that close. So that was it for me. And moving back to, I went to school and all that. It's the drive was just for teenagers and of course young children that are good, young kids.
Okay, so let's talk about your how did you get into the corporate industry? So at the backstage, we had a conversation about this when you got to work with Dangote. So I wanted to drive. I mean, we're going to cut off this side, but I wanted to transition into that part of this.
So working. So now I'm a teenager who left the home, left my house, and I was at Dangote working as a contract staff. You can imagine how old. I just finished from school. I told you, I just finished from school, 19, and I carried my bag and I was off to Dangote to work as a contract staff in Obajana Lokoja. Lokoja. And when I got there, saw money, did contract jobs. I wasn't satisfied. That wasn't the calling for me. The calling was to teach, not to be a contract staff, not to make money from from contract jobs. So I came back to, and I told myself, you know what, I'm coming back. And during that process, take note that, of course, temptations were coming. You have allergies. As a teenager, allergy, they want to marry you, this, that, this, all throwing tantrums on me. And so sorry to say, I also had a big sister who is a single mother. And she wanted me to, she said, get the big fish. That should be your goal and make money. Family should not be the goal. Focus. She had two kids who, those two kids, they have different fathers. So she wanted that for me too. And of course, people were coming and big shots were coming. And she said, get into this. So I called my mom. I remember calling my mom to say, this work, it's like it's not just basically the contract job anymore. It's also going to push me into, and of course, when you have a parent who is calling you, and as a teenager, your younger ones are waiting for you. So they call you, please, can we have this? Can this be done? Is there tomato? Is there this? There's no this. There's no curry. There's no that. And so you're looking at it. What do you choose? Do you choose the bad way or you choose the right way? You ask yourself the question. Of course, if you choose the bad way, it will work for a while. Then you're back to square one. So I told myself, I said, this is not it for me. And I packed my bag and that was how I left. Do you know what it is to work with Dangote as a young girl when everybody wants you? And yes, yet you choose the path. I chose that path to say, I'm going back. I don't know where I am going to, but I know God knows where I'm going to. So I packed my bag and oops, I came to Lagos where I don't have family. I don't have family, I don't have friends, and nothing. And I was here in Lagos, and the next thing I started teaching in the primary school at Ogombo. So that was how it started for me. And the next thing, I'd gotten into school, finished all my school, and deciding that I was still going to keep myself in spite of everything. So there was this part that my parents are not aware of. Till date, I'm not sure my mom is even aware that I battled with drug as a teenager. I battled with drug abuse. So So I got into a particular relationship with the guy who was smoking and all that. So I started smoking with him, and I battled with that for a very long time. So as I was battling with that, I was also teaching some other teenagers on how to manage such situations when it comes in.
Hold on. You were battling with smoking,
Yes.
but at the same time, you were also helping teenagers who were battling with smoking.
Yes. So I was
How did you do
helping.
that?
It's like I know how it feels now. So I'm with you. I know how it feels. But there was one thing I was shy. I wasn't open enough to tell them that, you know what, I'm battling with that too. I'm battling with that too. So, but I just helped them. I said, I understand how you're feeling. So how do we go about it? Can we do this? How do we do this? So that was it for me. And of course, also telling teenagers that this is me here. I don't have any family. Because they come to you and they say, I don't have any family. I don't have anyone who cares for me. So that's why I got into prostitution. That's why I got into stealing. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I tell you, I am a proof that there's no family. I don't have anyone here. But I chose the right way. And you can do that too. And the next thing, that was it. Since I choose to live right, only right things started happening to me. My value system, people now know my value system. And I remember having someone come to me, a guy come to me, and he didn't ask for sex or anything. What he asked was, because he knew my value system, and he said, you know what, let me put you through school. The remaining part of my schooling system.
Okay, you've jumped it again.
Yeah.
When you were helping the teenagers who had drug addiction, were there changes? Were there transformation?
Okay, so we did this. What we did was that because I was going through battling with drug addiction, and of course nobody knows. I'm sure that's the part we'll go into soon. Nobody knows. My parents, they are not aware because I'm far away, and they believe that, oh, that one she's fine, she's a Christian, she always has it all together, So I tell them to, nobody knows, but it's between yourself. It's you. It's you. It's you. It's all about you. So what do you want? Do you want this to stop? I said, if you have that urge, I remember my cousin sister telling me, when you have that urge, why not drink Martina? No, funny enough, those things, you look funny. They said, when you have the urge, why not drink Martina? And this was what she said that changed it for me. She said, and she didn't. She was just, why not drink Martina? He said, so she was playing with my mind. I said, do you know if you drink Martina one day, like this is your slim body, you'll be fat. And there's so much nutrients in Martina. So you ask yourself, what would this thing give you? Instead of this thing to give you something, why not take Martina? And anytime I want to smoke or drink, I tell myself, what would this thing give me? Why not take Martina?
What's a remedy?
As casual as it was, as casual as she played about it, that was it for me. And if I want to, I say, what would he give me? Why not take Martina? And I also wanted to be fat. I was too slim. So I say, it will give me enough nutrients. Why not take Martina? So for me, for teenagers, I would say, instead of taking this, why not do this? Why not read a book? Why not go jogging, do what you like instead of doing this? And what would he really give to you? Does it even have any benefit? It doesn't even have, personally, it doesn't even have any health benefits. So when you tell them like that, it really helps teenagers. And they can now talk to, because most times it's because they can't talk to someone. That's why they find themselves in a depression mode, and they want to use that. And I also tell them that sometimes they also want to feel big. That was how, some of them, because they want to feel like important where their friends they are. So I tell them, are you to choose your friend, or your friends are supposed to choose you? I mean, are you to choose your friend, or your friends are supposed to choose you? So you're supposed to choose your friend. So why would you now feel your friends to choose you? Why not make the friend? Why not you be the one to say, this is the friend? Yes. So if your friend chooses that you should take something that is harmful to you, then there's a problem. There's a problem. Who's going to die? You're going to die. They are not going to die, and they will walk away. So I tell them that all the time, and I tell them, you know what? You're going to help yourself. You're going to be good for yourself. So we started that, and before you know it, I too stopped. That was how I stopped, because I was helping others. I too had to stop, and that was how it is. And you can imagine that in all this time, if my parents were not aware. That is where you get to where parents don't even know what their children are capable of.
No, they don't know half of it.
They don't.
They can swear my child is a virgin without knowing that she's in the business of selling her body.
Yes.
You can swear. This is really, because we're talking about secondary school students here. We're talking about addiction in secondary school.
We're talking about children of 10, 11, 12. These kids are battling with so many things. They can't talk to anybody. If they don't feel heard. So they come to me and they say, this is it, this is it. These are children that are also battling from abuse from even their mothers, even their cousins, close relatives. So that's it.
This is a handful, Coach Esther. Okay, so from that point, tell me about how did you get into school?
Okay, so
So please, I wanted to start from the 1,000 naira experience.
okay, talking about you reminded me of that 1,000 naira experience. So there was this time I've not eaten for 3 days. Back then, I've not eaten for 3 days. I wasn't fasting. I didn't have food. And of course, I had other options. I had options to meet a guy. Of course, when I have not eaten, what should be the option is to meet a guy to say, you know what, buy me Indomie or egg. But I chose that. That wasn't it for me. I can't find myself going to meet someone, give my body to someone because I've not eaten. So I called, I remember calling my mom to say, I've not eaten for 3 days, and it was looking funny. There was no money to at home. Remember where I came from. So I, so somebody sent 1,000 naira to my Oceanic account then. And I said, I trekked from as far as Ogombo Road. I trekked to Ikota Shopping Complex.
My goodness.
Do you know how?
Guys, if you know this location, because this is actually a location I'm very conversant with, if you know the kilometers we're talking about here, you wonder how she survived. They will continue.
I trekked there only to get there. They've taken 500. I wrote out the account details and they checked. And I said, you have just 500 naira. You were owing the bank. They've taken for this, we've taken for that. So I was left with 500 naira. I was left to go home.
From the 1,000 naira that was sent to you, they've collected 500.
500.
And you can't withdraw the remaining 500.
I sat on the floor.
And you trekked down to the place to collect. With 3 days hunger.
3 days.
How did it feel?
At that point, I had so many things coming through my mind to say, you are a girl, you have what it takes to, of course, an attractive girl. You have what it takes to make money. But my value system, I told myself that I'm not going to sell myself just because I needed to eat. Other girls would have done worse. I'm not going to sell myself. I also remember when a friend told me that I was so broke to the point where I wanted a friend to also abhor me at home because at that point in time I didn't have money to pay for the rent. And she told me that this is the way. If you can't do this way, we need to go to a Calabar for excursion. And just thanks for coming, it's this amount. If you can do this, that's my colleague, my class classmate. If you can, that's what I do here in Lagos. That's the only job we have here in Lagos.
It's about hookup, right?
Yes.
Because
Yes, it's an excursion. That's what they called it. They didn't call it hookup. They said just excursion. And you are fine. And you're good. And I told myself, that's not it. I picked my bag.
Your values did not allow you. I like that.
And I picked my bag and I said, no, that's not for me.
Okay.
And that was it.
Okay, so let's go back to Oceanic Bank. Now you don't have access to your money, and where you're coming from is quite far. What are you doing to do?
That experience. So sitting down there, not knowing what to do, a friend, somebody came in. I said, why you seated there in vernacular? I said, why you dead there? Why you sit down there? And I said, I'm dead. I'm just here. I don't know how to go back and my place is far. And the person just said, come.
Did he know you?
No.
Did the person know you?
No. They said, come, let me take you home. Let me take you to your place. A guy said, come, let me take you to your home. Picked me up. I got up and he drove me to my house. And that was it. The next thing, we became very close. He never asked for anything because he knew he knew what I stood for. I stood for the fact that I was definitely going to keep myself till marriage. I wasn't ready to sell myself out for anything. So because he knew my value system, he paid me through school. I went through all stages of school. He paid me all through. and, we talked about it. And so that was it. So why do you feel that sometimes teenagers feel that because there is no way out, that was why I chose. Yes, that's why I chose the bad
People
way.
that have way out still do it, and you're wondering,
And looking at what is happening presently, it's looking like, oh, the only option is Yahoo. The only option is it's hook up. The only option, look at girls, they are buying, like now you heard the story, they're buying Lamborghini and all that. And people are celebrating this thing.
they are the icons, unfortunately.
So, but we are here, we're the voice for the teenagers to say that you can be better. Look at it today. Food should not be my problem. Cars should not be my problem. So if you are consistent, stay on the right path. It pays. I am a living proof. I am a living proof that you stay in the right path. It pays. Nothing. You say, what shall separate us from the love of Christ? Is it hunger? That word kept on hitting me as young as I was. I don't forget that scripture. He said, what will separate you from the love of Christ? Is it hunger? Is it peril? What? What can separate you from the love of Christ? So I hold it dear to my soul, and I said, I'm not letting go. And that was it. And that was it. In spite of so many things, so many persons depending on me, I said, this is the path I choose to follow, and there is no going back.
Ooh, your journey is such a long one, and it's also one that I hope will inspire teenagers to actually realize the fact that no matter what you're passing through today, your tomorrow can be better if you choose to stand on your values, if you choose to be a person of value, if you choose to stay focused and work hard. Yes, because I can't imagine coming from a point where you couldn't go to school to now owning a school, to now owning two schools, in fact. So let's talk about that. How did you pivot to that point?
So for the fact that school was a problem, I couldn't go to school early because of what happened. So I told myself that definitely I was going to own a school. And my school, the vision of the school is to raise purposeful children and teenagers who aspire to reach their full potentials. So less privileged children, we give them what we do basically, less privileged kids, we give them opportunity to go through a school where personally you can't afford to pay for it, but now we're giving you that leverage to say only good things you learn, the best language, best speech, best good education I give for a lesser amount. That's what, because someone has done it for me. So that was it for me. I'm going to open a school where we are going to have children who cannot afford this education come in. So that was how I came into the school business. That's yes.
What's the name of this school and where is it?
Nikki Brainy Montessori School, located in Delta State. It's basically, you need to see the children. These are kids that naturally they wouldn't have been able to afford such school, but we make it possible. We make it everything possible because we believe in the 5 priorities of life, which is the physical, the spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, and financial. So we teach them the 5 priorities of life. So that's how I got into the school business.
Well, okay, so I'm curious as to what you've done with your passion as a teens coach. Yeah, with the trainings, things, certifications that you've done and activities that you've organized. Are there things like that maybe someone would want to also get to know about?
Yeah, so what we do yearly, yearly we do a teenage camp where we have all shade of teenagers come in to a confined place, very conducive and confined place. So the previous year we did knowing who you are. Why do you act the way you do? It was trying to find purpose, vision, purpose. Why are you in this world? Why do you act the way you do? That was one we did. Then recently we had one which now we've done why you act the way you act. Then the next thing, how do I manage pressure? From my vision. You have your vision now. It's one thing to know your vision, and it's another thing for your vision to be destroyed with what is happening, the pressure everywhere. So how do you manage the pressure in this world where we are, where teenagers are the targets? If you notice, teenagers are the targets because you see young boys, you see young kids from 16, 17, all into this thing. And you see them making money.
Serious money.
And you see them making money. So how do you manage? I remember asking some of the teenagers, we said, I want you to write out if you are given 10 million, what would you do with it in less than 2 seconds? Just pen it down. What would you do when you are given? You hear children say, I will buy an iPhone. That's the pressure we're talking about.
Because they want to measure up.
They want to measure up. They want to be where they are not. A teenager said, I will buy like 4 weeks. So I will buy enough 4 weeks, then the latest iPhone. Only one child said, I'm going to buy properties. It wasn't even on to 100 million. I think it was 1 million. He said, I'm going to buy enough properties. And it was funny because your 1 million can't really buy, but it's the thought for me. That yes, what the person is to say, I was going to buy properties and I will resell these properties. How many kids do we have like that? So we do this meeting every year, bring them all together. So the next one we're about to do now, we are going to be working on purpose again. Just getting it really clear this time. Getting into purpose. How do we get into purpose? What are the distractions? And we intend to use one of my colleagues' book, which is Mr. Richard, when he talked about I think, yes, the compass. That's what we intend to use. This time we intend to bring in teachers to teach them on vocational studies and all that. So that's what we intend to do, to say you can be valuable, you need skills. You need skills. So you don't need these things because these things, they're going to fade away. What will be left is what you have inside of you. And that's what we intend to do by August this year.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Coach Esther, for sharing, your life. And I'm sure this is not even the half of it. There's still so much more, because life unfolds like layers of onion, and every time you open one more layer, there's yet another layer. But I'm so glad that you've come this far, and that you've been able to hold on to your passion, your purpose, and you've been able to walk this journey to this path. And my prayer for you is that God will continue to unveil what it is that He has for you and use you to reach out to the teenagers He has destined to come in contact with you. Thank you so much for coming to our show. So, if someone wants to reach out to you on social media, how can they get?
Okay, so you can reach out to us at Nikki Brainy Montessori School. So that's my Instagram handle.
Thank you so much. And that's how we bring today's episode of P&T Show to an end. Thank you for staying with us to the end. Keep watching P&T Show, because on this show, we celebrate parenting and we inspire teenagers. Share with your loved ones. Tell them about this page. Subscribe, like, comment, ask your questions in the comment section if you have any. I will be right there to respond to you. Till we meet you again next week, Friday. Bye.